Good morning, fifth graders. Time for a new lesson today. Chapter 12, Lesson 2, Histograms. Now let's figure out where we're going to find that information at. Go into your Google Classroom and scroll down here to Chapter 12. Chapter 12, click on Chapter 12 and you are in your completed notes. So we are right down here. M6, Lesson 12-2 notes. They are the completed notes. So click on them and we will get started. Okay, everybody, here we go. Here are your notes you now have up. Chapter 12, Lesson 2, Histograms. Histograms are a type of a bar graph that we use when looking at our data. It looks a little bit different than a bar graph in a couple of features, and I'll show you those right now. If you look here, here is a histogram. First of all, one thing you want to notice that is different. These bars they should be tight together here. This one here, they're off a little bit. They should all be grouped together. But as you notice down here, there are intervals down here at the bottom. So that's one of the differences here. But let's look and see what it talks about as a histogram. So data from a frequency table. We'll talk about a frequency table in a bit. If you think about that, those are the tally marks. Can be displayed as a histogram. A histogram is a type of bar graph used to display numerical data that has been organized into equal intervals. And we'll talk more about those equal intervals in a little bit. So it says, these intervals allow you to see the frequency, so how often it occurs, the frequency distribution, so how it's spread out, of the data, or how many pieces of data are in each interval. So let's take a look here. It says, refer to the histogram below. Describe the histogram. How many remote control airplanes cost at least $100? Well, one is the first issue we have here is this here is a little bit messed up. Let's scratch this out here and let's scratch this out here. This is talking about concert tickets. I'm not sure why this is up here, but we're looking at the cost of different remote controls. So these here are the number of remote controls. So if you want to write over here, it's going to be hard for me to write number of, let's see, I'll put it up here. Number of remote controls, okay, RC. Not too bad going on the side. Number of remote controls. And these are the average costs, the average cost of the remote control. So if you notice here, these are in intervals here, okay? That's what this bottom looks like, are our intervals. So as you see, the intervals are broken up into $25 to $49.99, $50 to $74.99, $75 to $99.99, $100 to $124.99, $125 to $149.99, and finally $150 to $179.99. Well, let's look at what all of this means. So as we're looking at here, we're saying, okay, how many remote control airplanes cost between $25 and $49.99? We can see there are 9 of them. So there are 9 there. How many remote control airplanes cost between $50 and $74.99? That would be 7. How many cost between $75 and $99.99? There's just 1. And how many are from $100 to $129.99? That would be 2. And finally, as you see, there are 0 that cost $125 to $149.99. And finally, $150 to $174.99. There is just 1. So basically, what we are looking at is we have a total of 20 different remote control the airplanes here. So that's how we got our 20 different prices in here. So we have that here. So let's scroll down here a little bit. Let's look at some other information that this tells us. So it says more remote control planes cost between $25 and $49.99. So if you look here, yeah, that is true because we have 9 here. This is our largest bar. Think of your mode. Okay. There are no planes that cost between $125 and $149.99. That's true. There's none there. But let's look and see what the question's asking. How many remote control airplanes cost at least $100? So this would be from $100 or more. So as you see, we have two here. We have one here. So there are three. There are three planes that cost $100 or more. Very good. Let's take a look at this next one here. Now it looks like this histogram looks pretty good. They should have moved these bars close together so they touch. But it says, describe the histogram below. How many teams had 41 or more wins? Well, let's look at some of this information first. Okay, so here are our teams. Okay, here are the equal intervals of that we're looking at with the number of wins. So this here is the number of teams over here on the left. So we can say here, now let's look at the intervals first here. As you notice, this goes from 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, 51 to 60. Those are equal intervals. Believe it or not, they're each in groups of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so there's 10. There's 10 right there. So that is a group of 10. So we're doing it in intervals of 10. So we can say, okay, there were only two teams. Put this up here. There were only two teams that had between 11 and 20 wins. There were four teams that had between 21 and 30 wins. There were four more teams that had between 31 and 40 wins. There were 10 teams, 10 here, that had between 41 and 50 wins. And there were 8 teams, my 8s aren't the best here, that were between 51 and 60 wins. So let's see. So as we can see here, there were a total of 28 teams that had wins, okay? So let's look at some of this information here. What are they asking? Let's see what we can gather from this histogram. So it says more teams have 41 to 50 wins. Yes, that's correct. This bar here is the largest. And it says 10 teams have 40 wins or fewer. So if we go back here and we say, okay, here's 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 2 is 10. Yeah, down here between 11 and 40 wins, there were only 10 teams that had that many wins. So if we answer our question here, how many teams had 41 or more wins? So we take our 28 minus our 10, which gives us, to answer our question, 18. That's a terrible 8 there, but there we go. So 18 teams had 41 or more wins. Okay, let's move down here and let's look at constructing one of these histograms. Okay, it says you can use data from the table to construct a histogram. So the first thing we're going to need to do is make a frequency, a table here. We'll talk about how this works. So it says the data shows the number of daily visitors to selected state parks. Draw a histogram to represent the data. So over here, what I did to make your life easier, I said, okay, here's what the equal intervals are going to be. 0 to 149, 150 to 199, 200 to 149, 250 to 299, 300 to 349, and 350 to 399. Okay, so those are broken down into intervals of 50. So here we go here. Here's our frequency table here. It's a 3-column AGA frequency table. So let's look at how we set this up. The first thing we're going to do is put our intervals down, the same as we have here on our histogram here. So we have our 0 to 149, 150 to 199, so on and so forth. Excuse me. So let's go up here to our table here. So we need to first find how many times does 100 to 149 here start. So we'll use our tally marks. So hey, here's 1. So put a tally mark here. Keep on going down through. No, no, no. Don't see, don't see, don't see. Boom. Found that one right there, 137. So I have 2 tally marks here, which means it occurs twice. So put a 2 in here. Now let's go 150 to 199. Oh, there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7. There's 7 tally marks here, which means the frequency is 7. Let's go to 200 to 249. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where's another one here? I missed it. 8 right here. So we have 8 tally marks here, which means we have a frequency of 8. Okay, now between 250 and 299. So 250 to 299, we got 1. That's it right there. So put your 1 there, and the frequency for that is just 1. So 300 to 349, just 1 there. So put your 1 there, which means a frequency of 1. And then finally, we have our 350 to 399. If we take a look at that, we just have 1 left here. So that 1 tally mark here, the frequency is 1. Now we go over here. Now what I want you to look at, these bars are connected. Okay, make sure they are connected here. So if we go to 100 to 148, we go up to our 2, draw our line, fill in our box here, shade it in, and we're good to go. Okay, go up here to 150 to 199, go up to your 7, put your line in, fill in your box here, and go from there, shading all of this in here. Now, as you see here, we'll do the same thing with the 200 to 249, the 250 to 299, the 300 to 349, and the 350 to 399. So there we go. We've just created our first histogram. Let's go to the final one here. It says the table shows the sales tax rate for the states. Draw a histogram to represent the data. Okay, so this time we're already given what our frequency, our table is here. So if we take a look here, it's broken down into our percent. So it's saying from 2% to 2.9%, 3% to 3.9%, 4 to 4.9%, and so on and so forth, all the way down to 8 to 8.9%. We look at our tallies here. So if we're going to make our histogram here, on the left side is our frequency. How often does it occur? Okay. Down here are our intervals. So you need to take your time to make this frequency table here. This histogram here. So we have our chart here, and then all we're going to do is fill in the information. So I like to write it on the side as a diagonal to give me some space, so it's all not smashed in here. Okay, but as you can see, from 2% to 2.9%, that is approximately 1. So right in here. There was 0 from 3 to 3.9%. So we still include this interval here, but we do not shade any bar in here because it's at 0. And as you see, we went through each piece here. And then what you can see here, the frequency that occurs the most is between 6% and 6.9%. So this is how we make a histogram. So hopefully, guys, you understand this. Here's your homework at the bottom. Take your time. If you need to rewatch the video, please do so and get started on your homework. I'll see you guys in a couple days. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.